Welcome to Alma Tales Lovers, where disrespect gets exposed and humiliation doesn't get the last word. These are the stories of wives and girlfriends who try to shame their husbands and boyfriends in public, weaponize family and friends, and treat love like a power game, until the calm comeback rewrites everything. If you've ever been embarrassed, talked down to, or made to feel less than by the person who should protect you, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications for raw, realistic humiliation stories with quiet receipts, cold consequences, and hard lessons. Because respect isn't optional. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing my wife ever did wasn't the cheating. It was the way she arranged my humiliation like a performance. On a Wednesday morning, in the middle of my shift, a process server walked straight into my workplace, said my full name like he was calling roll in class, and handed me papers in front of people who'd respected me for years. My wife stood near the entrance with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She didn't look surprised. She looked satisfied. Here's how it happened, and why I walked into court with one folder they didn't expect. I'm Malik Landry, and I work as an operations coordinator at a regional distribution hub outside Columbus, Ohio. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. Routes, inventories, schedules, problem solving under pressure. I'm the guy managers call when a truck breaks down and the whole day threatens to collapse. I'm known for being calm, not quiet because I'm weak, quiet because panic is expensive. I like that reputation. I built it. So when the process server said, Malik Jamal Landry, the room went still in a way that felt like someone pulled the power. The hub is loud on normal days, forklifts beeping, radios crackling, conveyor belts humming. But that morning, the sound dipped like the building held its breath. People looked up from clipboards and pallets. My supervisor, Troy, stepped out of his office with that concerned face leaders get when they smell trouble but don't know the shape of it yet. The process server held the packet in one hand and a pen in the other. "You've been served," he said, like it was a receipt for something I ordered. Then I saw Nia, my wife, Nia Landry, stood just inside the glass doors in a cream blazer she only wore when she wanted to be taken seriously. Her hair was perfect. Her nails were fresh. She looked like she'd come to close a deal, not watch her husband get embarrassed. And she was smiling, not the polite social smile. A small, confident curve that said, "I told you so." She met my eyes, and for a second, it felt like I was looking at someone I'd never truly known. I didn't reach for the papers right away. Not because I was confused, but because I knew what she wanted. She wanted me to snatch them, to demand explanations, to raise my voice, to make a scene so she could walk away looking like a victim. I'd seen her do it to other people. Nia had a talent for poking you with a needle until you swatted, then acting shocked you used your hand. I took the packet with 2 fingers, thanked the server, and asked Troy for a private moment in his office. Troy shut the door and said, "You good, Malik?" He wasn't nosy. He was protective of the workplace and of me. I nodded because I was good in the only way that mattered. My hands were steady. My breathing was steady. My thoughts were sharp. I glanced at the first page and saw words like petition and temporary orders and the kind of bold headings that always mean someone is trying to take more than they're owed. I didn't read it all. I didn't need to. Nia's smile had already told me the real message. That smile wasn't new. It was the same look she gave me months earlier when her phone buzzed at midnight, and she rolled over with it like she was hiding a candle flame from the wind. "It's my business group chat," she said too fast. Nia called herself an entrepreneur, and she worked hard, pop-up boutiques, online sales, brand deals that came and went. I respected her ambition. What I didn't respect was how she started treating secrecy like it was part of her job description. Passwords changed. Notifications silenced. Calls taken on the porch. We'd been married 5 years, together 7. In the beginning, she was affectionate in public and sweet in private. Then it flipped. In public, she became polished and charming, the kind of wife who laughed at my jokes and touched my arm when people were watching. In private, she became impatient. Everything I did was slow, basic, not on her level. If I asked a question, she sighed like I was an assignment she didn't want. If I wanted to talk, she said I was doing too much. She learned to star the marriage with small cuts. The disrespect wasn't just her mouth. It was her choices. She'd leave for networking dinners and come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, then claim it was the restaurant. She'd take selfies in nice places and tag vague captions, blessed and new chapter, but never included me anymore. When I asked why, she said, "My brand isn't a couple's page." That was the first time I heard my marriage reduced to a marketing inconvenience. I didn't argue. I filed it away. I've learned the truth shows up in patterns. Then came the money conversations. Not because we were broke. We weren't. We were stable. I paid the mortgage on a house we bought in my name before we married, and she contributed to utilities and groceries when business was good. But suddenly she started speaking like my paycheck was a resource she could redirect. "We should put the house in both our names," she said casually one night. "It looks better." When I asked why it mattered, she shrugged. "Just in case. For security." Her eyes didn't match her words. That's when I started keeping receipts. I didn't start tracking things because I wanted revenge. I did it because I'd seen what happens when someone decides you're the enemy. My mother raised me with 2 rules: don't yell, and don't go to war unprepared. So I made a folder. At first, it wasn't dramatic, just copies of the deed, the mortgage statements, proof of payments, and documentation of what was mine before marriage. Then I added bank statements showing where my money went, because some months, the math was starting to look strange. The cheating became clearer without ever becoming loud. It was the little things that didn't line up. A hotel charge she claimed was for a client meeting, when the hotel was nowhere near any event she mentioned. A pair of men's sunglasses in her passenger seat that she said belonged to her cousin. A screenshot she forgot to delete where a man's name was saved under a woman's emoji. And the big one, a calendar invite that popped up on our shared tablet. "Dinner, Jay?" She snatched the tablet like it burned her hand. I confronted her once, carefully, not with accusations, just a question. "Are you happy?" I asked. "Because it feels like you're somewhere else." Nia stared at me like I was speaking a language she didn't respect. "You're insecure," she said. "That's your problem." Then she laughed, a short, sharp laugh, and added, "Maybe if you leveled up, you wouldn't be worried about who I'm talking to." I remember how calm I stayed, because inside, something went cold. That wasn't a wife protecting her marriage. That was a person protecting a secret. The next week, I got my answer without asking. I wasn't snooping. I was taking out the trash when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Screen up, bright as a confession. A message preview popped up from a name I didn't recognize. "Last night was crazy. You sure he doesn't suspect?" The phone buzzed again, like the universe wanted to make sure I saw it. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. I just stared at the words, then turned the trash bag's tie like I was sealing something away. I didn't open her phone. I didn't need to. I took a photo of the screen with my own phone because facts matter and memories get argued with. Then I went outside and sat in my car for 5 minutes, not to cry, just to breathe. When I came back in, she was in the bathroom, singing softly to herself like the house belonged to her alone. I looked at the framed wedding photo in the hallway, the one where she's laughing with her whole face. I realized I missed that woman. I also realized she might not exist anymore. Still, I try to handle it like an adult. I suggested counseling. Nia laughed again. "Therapy is for people who can't control their emotions," she said, which was funny coming from a woman who needed an audience to feel powerful. She started staying out later. She began dressing differently, less like she was going to run errands, more like she was going to be seen. And she started slipping insults into conversations like seasoning. "You're lucky I'm patient," she told me once in front of her friends, smiling like it was a joke. Her friends laughed. I didn't. When people asked why I didn't check her, I tell them the truth. I was checking the situation. I wasn't trying to win arguments. I was trying to see what game she was playing. And the game became obvious when she started talking about divorce like it was a business strategy. "If we ever split, it should be quick," she said one night, stirring her tea. "No drama." That's what people say when they're planning drama. She watched my face for a reaction. I gave her none. I said, "If we ever split, it'll be fair." She smirked like she'd already decided what fair meant. The humiliation plan took shape after that. Nia began showing up at my job more often, pretending she was being supportive. She'd bring coffee and smile at my coworkers, making herself look like the perfect wife. but her eyes would flick over people like she was counting witnesses. One afternoon, I heard from a coworker that Nia had asked what time Troy usually arrived and whether the general manager was in that day. She framed it like curiosity. I recognized it as scouting. I went home that night and added a new section to the folder, Workplace. Then she made a mistake. Her laptop was open on the dining table, and she stepped away to take a call outside. I wasn't digging through her life, but a document title was visible on the screen, bold and hard to ignore: Landry Strategy. I felt my stomach drop, not from fear but from clarity. I walked closer and saw bullet points like serve at work equals pressure, he won't fight, and control narrative. I didn't click anything. I didn't need to. I took a photo of the screen and walked away. That night, she came in glowing, humming to herself again. She kissed my cheek like she was practicing being kind. "I'm proud of you," she said, and I almost laughed at the timing. I asked, "Proud of what?" She shrugged. "Just you. Being steady." Her voice was sweet. Her eyes were calculating. I realized something important. Nia didn't want peace. She wanted submission, and she thought embarrassment was the lever that would get it. She didn't understand me at all. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is control. The next morning, I made 2 phone calls. One to a family law attorney recommended by a man I trust, my uncle, who taught me that paperwork is protection. The other call was to my bank to lock down accounts and set alerts for unusual transfers. I wasn't hiding money. I was preventing sabotage. My lawyer, Ms. Renee Holloway, listened without interrupting as I explained the serve at work plan, the financial shifts, and the evidence I collected. When I mentioned the folder, she said, "Bring it to me." Her tone changed, like she recognized preparation, like she recognized someone finally stopped hoping and started proving. Ms. Holloway didn't promise me fairy tale outcomes. She promised me process. She told me what mattered: premarital assets, documented contributions, intent, and credibility. In court, emotion can be loud, she said, but documentation is louder. I liked her immediately. She wasn't trying to hype me up. She was trying to keep me clean. We organized my folder into tabs: property, payments, messages, timeline, and the workplace proof. She advised me to keep my behavior flawless. "Let them be dramatic," she said. "You be factual." Then Wednesday came, the day Nia chose for her performance. She timed it perfectly: busy shift, lots of people around, management present. When the server called my name, she stood in the doorway like she was watching a movie. I watched her back, not with anger, with interest. She thought the papers were a punch. To me, they were confirmation. I signed where necessary, thanked Troy for privacy, and returned to work like my life wasn't being rearranged. That part bothered her. I could tell by the way her smile tightened when I didn't break. She tried again that evening at home. "So," she said, leaning against the counter like she was in control of the conversation, "I'm sure you understand. This doesn't have to be ugly." I nodded. Agreed. She blinked because she expected pleading. "We can keep it simple," she continued. "I get the house, you keep your little retirement, and we move on." She said little, like it was cute. I asked, "Why would you get the house?" She smiled wider. "Because you're too embarrassed to fight." There it was. The truth, finally unmasked. I didn't argue. I just said, "I'll see you in court." She laughed like I told a joke. "Court?" she said. "Malik, you don't even like conflict." I looked at her and said, "I don't like noise." Then I walked upstairs and slept like a man who knows what he's doing. The next day, she started texting family and friends, spinning the story early. I could feel it in the air, people watching me, waiting for me to react, waiting for me to become whatever character she was writing. I stayed quiet. Quiet ruins a liar's script. Court day arrived on a gray morning with light rain that made the streets shine. I wore a navy suit, not to look rich, but to look respectful. I carried one plain folder, no dramatic briefcase, no stack of papers spilling out, just one folder. Nia arrived in a sharp dress and heels that clicked like punctuation. She brought her lawyer, a tall man with an expensive watch and an easy grin. When she saw my folder, her smile came back, confident as ever. She leaned toward her lawyer and whispered something that made him chuckle. They thought I brought nothing. Inside the courtroom, Nia performed again. She spoke about emotional neglect, lack of support, and having to build everything alone. She didn't mention the late nights. She didn't mention the secret messages. She definitely didn't mention the plan to serve me at work. She talked like she was reading from a script built for sympathy. Her lawyer asked for temporary orders, possession of the home, access to certain accounts, and a structure that would pressure me into settling quickly. Nia glanced back at me once, smiling. The same smile, like she was watching a trap close. When it was our turn, Ms. Holloway stood up with calm energy. She didn't insult Nia. She didn't dramatize my pain. She simply asked the judge for permission to present exhibits relevant to credibility and financial conduct. Then she opened my folder. Paper doesn't look powerful until it's organized. She placed the first exhibit, the home deed dated before marriage, followed by mortgage statements showing consistent payments from my account. Then she placed the bank alerts and transfer attempts. Then the screenshots, the message preview. You sure he doesn't suspect? The judge's eyes narrowed slightly, not at me, at the pattern. The air in the courtroom changed. Nia's lawyer stopped smiling. Ms. Holloway then presented the photo of the document titled Landry Strategy with bullet points about serving me at work to pressure and embarrass me. She didn't say, "Look how evil she is." She let the judge read it. The judge asked Nia directly if she orchestrated service at my workplace to cause distress. Nia tried to laugh it off, but it came out thin. "I just wanted it handled quickly," she said. The judge's voice stayed neutral. "That is not what this document says." Nia's smile died the way a light goes out, sudden and final. The judge denied her request for temporary control of the home and issued orders that protected assets until a full hearing. More importantly, the judge spoke about credibility, about good faith, and about weaponizing embarrassment. Outside the courtroom, Nia hissed, "You planned this." I looked at her and said, "No, you did." Then I walked away without a speech, without a victory lap, and without looking back. Moral lesson: when someone tries to destroy you with drama, don't fight with volume. Fight with truth, receipts, and calm preparation. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.